I'd like to call to order the August 8th, 2016 meeting of Dover City Council. I ask you to please rise and join us for an invocation by Bishop Thomas L. Holsey, followed by the pledge to our nation's flag led by Councilman Fred Neal.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we ask that you come into this meeting and give wisdom and knowledge for our community, and that you give strength to each and every one that's participating here. We ask, God, that you move in a special way upon the hearts and minds of each and every one that's in accordance with what's going on in our council. Let there be peace among us and joy in the name of Jesus. And let us have a moment of silence for Mr. Harry W. Downs, Sr., 31-year employee of the city. Father, we thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gentlemen, you have before us this evening's agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
If not, move for approval.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Hutchison, seconded by Councilman Neal to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. We now have before us the consent agenda. Those items on the council agenda which are considered routine and non-controversial are marked with an asterisk and will be acted upon by a single roll call vote of the council. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of council so requests, in which event the matter shall be removed from the consent agenda and considered a separate item. What is the pleasure of council? Councilman Hare.
I'd like to request that item 5C5 be removed.
Councilman Hare has requested that that agenda item 5C5 be removed from the consent agenda. Any other changes to the consent agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Neal and seconded by Councilman Hare to approve the consent agenda as amended. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Sedler?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Hosfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Slavin?
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Agenda item number 2 is a certificate of recognition for Caroline Hermance. I would invite Mayor Christensen and Caroline Hermance to the podium for the presentation. I would also ask the city clerk to read the certificate into the record. And if any of the members of the family would like to join Ms. Hermance at the podium, they may. And her father, the photographer, is welcome to roam anywhere he wants to get a picture.
Ms. Caroline Hermance began making her mark on our community at a young age by giving back to others and sharing her gifts and talent. And Ms. Hermance continues to display exceptional leadership skills as she works with individuals with disabilities, provides respite care to their caregivers, mentors students with disabilities, and serves as a Special Olympics Project Unify leader. Caroline was also named the Music Leader of Respite and Super Kids, a summer program through Grace Presbyterian Church in Dover. During the academic year, she aided other students by helping them understand concepts, taught kids with disabilities new skills, and provided instruction in theater skills such as choreography and blocking. And Ms. Hermance's musical ability has reached many in our community through her performances in theater roles such as Helen in Bye Bye Birdie, and the lead roles of Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, Mary Poppins in Mary Poppins, and Catherine in Pippin. She has also spent endless hours as an instructor and founding member of the bagpipe section of the Dover Police and Fire Pipes and Drums Band. And academically, Ms. Hermance remained focused by maintaining her position on the honor roll for 10 marking periods, High Honor Roll for 2 marking periods, and membership in the National Honor Society. She received an Outstanding Academic and Athletic Achievement Award while carrying a course load that consisted of advanced placement classes and classes through Delaware Technical Community College. She also excelled on the field in lacrosse and the courts in volleyball. The Mayor and Council of the City of Dover, Delaware do hereby present the Certificate of Recognition on this 8th day of August 2016 to Caroline Hermance and extend best wishes for her continued success in future endeavors.
Thank you, Mr. President. Caroline, on behalf of myself and the members of the City Council, we are pleased to present you with a certificate of recognition as one of the many superstars of the youth that we have in the City of Dover, and I am very confident that yourself and many other young leaders that we have in the community, we will leave Dover in good hands when we all decide to move along. So Caroline, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
I'd also like to make mention that we have her brother here, who is a superstar in his own right, her mother, grandmother, and grandfather. And you want to come over this way, sir? Because he's also one of our superstars. Do you want somebody to take a picture of you all together?
Yeah, I don't know how to work that thing.
So step over this way, and Caroline will do this one more time.
Jeff, there's no overtime for that.
So everybody squeeze together.
Oops, okay. I was waiting for the automatic focus. May I get one? Sure.
You know how to work that one, Jeff?
Let's see.
And he can do it one-handed.
Can't.
Don't drop that.
I'm not going to drop it. I'm going to drop it.
Two orders. That's better.
Are there any
Drop
members of
back.
council who would like to
Here,
offer
Chris is just.
any words?
Comes Dad, he don't want nothing to happen to that.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
I just
you.
wanted to offer Ms. Hermance, I believe you're off to Loyola University in a week or so.
Loyola University Maryland.
And my daughter has just graduated from there this past spring, and I wish you nothing but as wonderful an experience as she had for the past 4 years.
Thank you.
Good luck to you. Councilman Sutherland. Agenda item number 3 is public hearing and final reading of proposed ordinance number 2016-16 with staff amendment number 1, SA number 1, amending Appendix B zoning. The first reading of the proposed ordinance was accomplished during the council meeting of June 27, 2016. The ordinance is available at the entrance of the city council chambers or on the city's website at www.cityofdover.com under the Government tab. Since this is an amendment to the zoning code, a public hearing is required. First, I will entertain a motion to consider the final reading by title only. A separate motion will be necessary for its
So moved.
adoption. Moved by Councilman Neal. Or
Second.
And seconded by Councilman Sudler to have the motion considered by title only. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Proposed ordinance 2016-16 with SA number 1, amending Chapter 22, Building and Building Regulations, Chapter 26, Businesses, Chapter 50, Floods, Chapter 66, Manufactured Homes and Trailers, Chapter 102, Taxation, Chapter 106, Traffic and Vehicles, Chapter 110, Utilities, Appendix B Zoning, Articles 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 12, and Appendix F, Fees and Fines. Mrs. Townsend, would you please brief council on this item?
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance is the culmination of a process that started back in November to update all of the provisions within the Dover Code that address manufactured housing, mobile homes, or any housing of that sort, because the the standards for that housing have changed significantly over time, and what we determined is that the language in our code is very dated and was not current. So this is a thorough review of all sections of the Dover Code that relate to manufactured housing or mobile homes to make sure that the references are current and correct. It also establishes standards for land lease communities, which in the prior, or in the code as it exists now, there are some standards for mobile home parks, but again, we're trying to make things current so that it could envision other types of land lease communities. This was an amendment to the zoning ordinance, among other provisions, so it did require a public hearing before the Planning Commission, and that happened on July 18th. When this went through the Development Advisory Committee, there were two small amendments that were really clarification that were recommended by the DAC review agencies. One is the Electric Department and one is the Fire Marshal's Office, and those are presented in the ordinance for your review this evening as well. I did notice when I put the report together, the motion by the Planning Commission did not specifically address those amendments. Typically, unless otherwise stated, the Planning Commission's motion includes all of the staff recommendations unless they've otherwise stated. So given that it was silent, we would assume that it was inclusive of that, but I did want to point out for the record that their motion did not specifically address the amendments. The amendments really just do a couple of things as it relates to utilities. It clarifies that community owners need to coordinate with the City of Dover regarding any utility services and equipment. We've had some issues before where there have been things done by some of the community owners that do not comply, so it's just making sure that that happens. And then there's a reference to the NFPA code, and refers to the Planning Commission as the approving authority of the NFPA criteria, and the Fire Marshal's Office had requested that that be amended to be the Fire Marshal's Office, which it would be technically correct because they are the authority having jurisdiction as it relates to the NFPA codes. So those are the two small amendments, but again, this is just a full review of the code as it relates to anything and everything that has to do with manufactured housing, mobile homes, and land lease communities.
Thank you, Mrs. Townsend. Before we begin, I will just offer the suggestion that if your item that you've been here for the council has already been heard, it is not considered rude for you to go ahead and go on your way. And it would be considered unfatherly not to take your child out for ice cream at this point, so I would just offer that as an option. Any comments from members of City Council on this item that's before us? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone who would care to speak in favor of the proposed amendment? In favor of the proposed amendment? Sir, if you'd like to come forward, give your name and address.
My name is Paul McDonald. I live at 123 Kurt Drive in Dover. That's part of the Wild Meadows community. I am, in fact, the president of the Homeowners Association of that community. That makes me, first and foremost, the fighter against what we consider outrageous rent increases and imposition of fees for things that should be part of our rent. But also, it makes me a full-time unpaid employee of Wild Meadows LLC. It is my job to report on any and all defects in the property, accumulating water, accumulating debris, carcasses of animals, all kinds of things. I am then required to file those in a report via certified mail on a regular basis because management will not recognize anything that's not in certified form. And then hopefully we get a response to some of those. Quite frankly, I don't like being an unpaid employee. And certainly the articles outlined on page 5 of this document will go a long way to improving that situation. Certainly, preventing accumulating standing water is a constant issue. People complain of all kinds of mosquitoes, greenhead flies, and what have you on a regular basis. We spend a great deal of time and money fighting them. Office hours don't exist in the community. We have one part-time employee that works less than a day and a half as a representative of the community, and almost always unreachable. And since we've started paying rent in the community, it has been impossible to get a receipt for a lot payment. This is just common business practice. It's grossly unfair not to have recognition of a payment. So these things are just, to me, common sense. And of course, the last item on the page says the land lease community must notify the city of Dover if they intend to sell the community. That's of late become an issue for us as well. And we hope that that kind of thing will go a long way to help us improve the well-being of our residents and give us a fair shake in dealing with our future. I appreciate your attention on this.
Thanks very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward and be heard in favor of the proposed amendment? In favor of the proposed amendment? Is there anyone who would like to speak against the proposed amendment? Anyone to speak against the proposed amendment? Yeah, there's no one else. I'll declare the public hearing closed. What is the pleasure of council to staff amendment number 1, essay number 1? Councilman Neal.
I move that it be adopted.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Neal and seconded by Councilman Sudler to adopt staff amendment number 1, essay number 1. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries unanimously. What is the pleasure of council with regard to ordinance number 2016-16 as amended? Councilman Neal.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Neal and seconded by Councilman Hare. Is there any discussion on the motion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Sudler?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Hosfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Slater?
Yes, motion carries unanimously. I'm going to apologize. I neglected to recognize Councilman Sudler during the consideration of the consent agenda, and he has requested that item 5C3 be pulled off the consent agenda. Is that correct, Councilman Sudler?
Yes, Council President.
We'll go to agenda item 5C3. Councilman Sudler. Or it should be, I'm sorry. Councilman Hare, do you want to introduce this item before Councilman Sudler speaks as the Chair of Legislative Finance and Administration?
All right, this was on the Legislative Finance and Administration Committee, proposal for the Dover Public Library to adopt a smoke-free policy. And I'll leave it to Mr. Sudler.
I would ask that my council colleagues please consider a friendly amendment to adopt the staff recommendations with a friendly amendment to include all parks and recs facilities and also city buildings, city facilities as a whole.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Sudler, seconded by Councilman Neal, to amend the proposed policy to include all city parks and city buildings. Just a question on the motion. By buildings, do you mean the inside of the building, which is already prohibited by state law? Do you mean city property surrounding the buildings as well?
Surrounding building 25 feet from the
Or
building.
on the city
entrance.
property?
Yes.
So the amendment is to ban, to adopt a smoke-free policy for all parks and all city property.
Yes, sir.
I accept the change.
Discussion on the motion? Councilman Hutchison.
Question,
If in fact this matter passes, where do we stand on the enforcement side? And what would the penalties be?
Councilman Sullivan?
I would suggest that we follow the state of Delaware's statute in regards to the penalties and enforcement code.
And my understanding was when this question was raised on the public library proposal that it was a Dover city ordinance, correct? It's a DCO. Mr. Koenig?
I believe so. I did not bring the reference with me. But I believe this is something that that's could enforce on library property.
Other questions? All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now we need a motion to accept the item proposal for the Dover Public Library to adopt the smoke-free. I need a motion to accept the committee's recommendation as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Sutherland, seconded by Councilman Neal. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 5C3, consideration of Legislative Finance and Administration Committee review and approval of any positions that remain open for over 6 months without being recruited. Councilman Hare.
I'm just going to restate my position that we've now gone through 2 budget hearings, and we've had positions in both budget hearings, and they haven't been filled. And if a position goes 6 months, 12 months, 16 months, and hasn't been filled, I think it should come back to Leg and Fin for justification why it should be filled or be eliminated. It obviously must not be needed if it can go 13, 16 months without being filled. Just stating what I stated the other night, and I won't be in favor of this.
A motion?
Is that the one?
I make a motion to, I
Second.
make a motion that that any position that's been vacant over 6 months and has not been recruited be brought back to Leg and Fin to get permission to recruit or fill the position.
Second.
Motion that's been made by Councilman Hare and seconded by Councilman Sutherland to amend the staff recommendation to have the review come back to Legislative Finance and Administration Committee after 6 months of vacancy. I have Councilman Hutchison, Councilman Neal, and then Mr. Koenig.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to hear from the city manager on this.
Is that okay? Councilman Neal, if I go to Councilman Neal, go ahead.
Well, basically, my concern was part of the things that were mentioned previously in the committee as a whole. And that is, if you have a position that is important, it's difficult to fill. If you have the candidate that's ready to be able to be hired, do we lose that candidate because we delay? And if it is important, then I think it becomes extremely important that that position is there. It hasn't cost us a dime. And we haven't spent any money at that particular point. And if you're going to tie the city manager's hands.
Mr. Koenig.
Thank you, Council President Slavin. As I indicated at the committee meetings, staff has progressed through the hiring process and the electric generation superintendent to conduct interviews, and I'm expecting a recommendation for hiring from the electric director on this position shortly. The same with the key accounts representative. We are progressing through interviews, and we're expecting a hiring recommendation from the department shortly. The Public Works Operations Manager position is currently being recruited. They have had at least the first round of interviews. The only positions on this thing that have not been advertised are positions 10, the AS 400 systems operator, and the administrative assistant in IT. Those were being held because we are currently evaluating the ERP system, and we'll be making recommendations regarding the potential replacement of that system. And until we have a clear understanding of what system we might be gravitating to, we have not recommended the hiring of the systems operator position because we're not sure if we're going to be using an AS 400 system. All these other positions are being recruited. Some have been filled and then have become vacant again because of a revolving door at certain levels of the organization. In some cases, it involves transfers to other departments. In some cases, it involves resignations or retirements. And if this vote fails tonight to pass this, there is potential that whatever offers we may be prepared to make will become stale, and the candidates will seek other opportunities. And we'll be right back with the position of asking to hire these positions that are, in the long run, critical to the utilities and the operation of the city. So I believe the staff, directors have submitted their requests. The actual IT director has submitted requests for the replacement of these positions. They're being held at my level while we evaluate other opportunities. But the salary is budgeted. If there is unused salary at the end of the year, it goes to the unfunded liabilities related to, I believe it's OPEB and pension. So these are not lost dollars. They're not wasted dollars. And in fact, I believe that each of these positions is important in the long run, and I would request that the city manager's office be given the authority to recruit them as necessary. If this vote is not going to pass tonight, I would request that it be tabled until there's a full complement of council members to vote on the issue, rather than resetting this and having to come all the way back through committee.
Thank you, Mr. Koenig. I have Mr. Councilman Hare and then Councilman Sutton. Councilman Hare.
Okay, the positions that are being recruited aren't the ones that are in question. It's the positions that have not been recruited, that have gone 13 and 16 months without being filled, now all of a sudden become important positions. If we can go a year without filling the positions, I don't care if we're waiting on a study or whatever, obviously for a year we haven't needed the position. The position of the generation manager, it's being recruited. It's actively being recruited. Those aren't the positions in question. If somebody leaves and 3-4 months after they're gone, you start recruiting that position, okay. If it takes you 3-4 months, okay. They're being recruited. But last year's budget, there were 2 positions. We need these positions in the budget to recruit these positions. This year's budget, the same 2 positions. So, do we need those positions? That's my thing. If it's gone that long and it's not being recruited, do we really need them? If it was your business, would you say, oh, don't worry about it. Just let your managers hire whoever they want, when they want. Don't worry about it. If they go 18 months without a position being filled, if they decide to fill it, go ahead. What's the difference? That's what I'm saying. The positions that have been vacant that long should come back and be vetted through leg and fin as to priorities. And it was just said, they don't know if they need them because they're waiting on an ERP study. So we're saying, well, go ahead and hire if you know, but they don't know. So that's what I'm saying. Positions that are already being recruited, if it takes a while to get them, okay, they're actively being recruited.
Councilman Sutler and then Mr. Koenig. Councilman Sutler.
City Manager Koenig, how many prospect applicants within the last 3 months have been interviewed, and why wouldn't you wait on the ERP study if we've already, as Councilman Hare has said, been without these positions being filled? What is such the urgency?
The discussion that Mr. Hare just disclosed is different than the discussion that we had at the committee level, because at the committee level, a number of the focus was on the electric generation manager position. The 2 positions, the AS400 systems operator position and the administrative part-time IT administrative position, are currently not being recruited. If that is the request of council at this point, I have no objections, because we do not plan to recruit these positions in the next 30 days. However, I expect that we will recruit these positions when we have a clear understanding of which way we would like to go with the ERP. So if the only discussion is the AS400 operator position and the administrative assistant position part-time in the IT department, I don't have any objections.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilman Neal.
I would like to hear what the motion is again, because I see here two things. One, if your position's not filled, in 6 months it's gone. Or is it not being recruited? Or is it, I mean, the question is, what specifically are we saying? If he can't fill his position in the electrical department, which is urgent, because it actually isn't hired, that's one thing. If you're saying, okay, if you're not going to recruit, that's a total different thing. So I want to make sure what that motion actually is.
I'm going to ask Councilman Hare to restate the motion.
Okay.
Not the explanation behind it. I need the motion restated, and then you can go to your explanation.
The motion is any position that is not actively being recruited, that has been vacant for over 6 months, needs to come back to Leg and Fin for approval to recruit.
So
Now-
the motion is any position that has been vacant for more than 6 months that is not being actively recruited would have to be vetted through Legislative Finance and Administration.
Right. I'm
All
not
right, now go
saying,
ahead,
if
Mr.
someone quits and they do the paperwork and 3-4 months down the road, they're actively recruiting that position and it goes 12 months before they can get him hired, okay. Because they've been actively recruiting for 6, 7, 8 months. But if it goes 6 months and nothing happens, or 12 months and nothing happens, you're not recruiting, well, it needs to come back and tell us why you need the position. Let's justify the position.
Is that what your second was?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that will not tie your hands?
That motion, the way I understand it, only delays recruitment of the AS400 systems operator position and the administrative assistant position in IT. It's only those two positions I have no objections.
Councilman Sutherland.
All the rest, I believe, are being actively
Thank you.
recruited.
Councilman Sutherland.
City Manager Koenig, my question is, how long does it delay? How long would it delay that process of hiring? 30 days, 60 days, 90 days?
The committee process is 30 days.
So only delay it by 30 days? Possibly, I mean.
Well, it depends on if
Best case scenario.
it delays it at least 30 days.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, the motion that's before us is to amend the council recommendation that any position that has been vacant for more than 6 months that is not being actively recruited would be vetted through Legislative Finance and Administration Committee. Madam, or actually, this would be a voice. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Is there then a motion to accept the amended committee recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Sutherland, seconded by Councilman Weir. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously, and now I'll accept the motion to accept the report of the Legislative Finance and Administration.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hare, seconded by Councilman Sudler. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We now go to agenda item number 8, evaluation of bids for the North State Street gravity sewer repair. Mr. Koenig, would you please brief us on this item?
Thank you, Council President Slavin. In the packet is an action form out of the Public Works Department regarding the repair and replacement of sanitary sewer infrastructure in North State Street. The project area is between Cecil Street and Mary Street. Staff has been evaluating the existing infrastructure. There have been a number of sinkholes that have developed in the center of State Street due to failure of an underground pipe. The staff put together a project scope and specifications. This was based on the evaluation and investigation with cameras and underground investigation. There are breaks in the pipe allowing groundwater to get into the system. The work includes the removal of existing 12-inch sanitary sewer main, the relining of an 18-inch sanitary sewer main in the same general vicinity, and then the relocation of laterals that were connected to the 12-inch sanitary sewer main into the relined 18-inch sanitary sewer main. There is a significant amount of traffic control that's related to this project because it includes traffic diversion and management on North State Street. There's also some night work that will be involved on parts of the project because of the traffic volume in the area. Therefore, the cost to do the project is substantially high. The bids were advertised with the city's purchasing agent under ITB number 16-0045 PW. The bids were opened on July 6th. We received 2 bids. One of them was deemed non-responsive. So there is one bid for evaluation, Eastern States Construction Services Incorporated, in the amount of $335,470. Staff has reviewed the bids. We believe that the contractor is qualified to do the work, and we believe this work needs to progress. So we're recommending award to Eastern States Construction Services in the amount of $335,470 for the North State Street Gravity Sewer repair project. And the project schedule will be adjusted to accommodate a number of parades and things that are scheduled for North State Street in the coming months. And then we'll be reaching out to property owners with a more definitive schedule for construction once the bids are authorized by council. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Koenig, you referenced the timing of this. When is the expected start date for this?
There was a question about at least one parade. I think it related to NASCAR. So the start of construction will be after the NASCAR parades, which I think are scheduled for the end of September, beginning of October. So
I ask you to check with Wesley College. They have a homecoming parade that takes place sometime in October. It goes right in front of the campus on North State.
yep, that is correct. We are working with both Wesley, Del State, and also the high school, or any high school conflicts. So it is likely that this project will not start construction until probably late October.
What's the duration of the project?
We anticipate 60 days, so we're going to have to try to thread the needle between holidays and parades.
And then you also mentioned that there's overnight work that would take place. Is that overnight work in relation to repaving of the street?
I think it is in the area where there's going to have to be excavation, so some of the lateral tie-ins may have to happen overnight, depending on the volume of construction equipment. That may have to be stuff that's done at night.
So I know that if DelDOT repaves a street and does it overnight, they have to survey the residents. Do we have a similar provision?
I believe so. We have the ability to lay that aside because it's in the city, but we will be working with the neighbors to try to get this done at the least inconvenience.
Yeah, having lived through this once before, the neighbors were supportive of it, but it helps to notify them well in advance that this is rolling up on the schedule.
Yes, I think once, provided the council authorizes the bid, we will probably be reaching out and having several public meetings with the neighbors to just talk about the impacts and timing.
And just a reminder, there are 2 businesses located on near Mary Street on North State Street, and I would encourage reaching out to those business owners. One is a bed and breakfast, and one is a tea house.
Yes.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Koenig? It's the pleasure of council.
For acceptance of staff recommendation.
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Hare, seconded by Councilman Hutchinson to accept staff recommendation on the North State Street Gravity Sewer Repair and award a contract to Eastern States Construction Service, Inc. in the amount of $335,470. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Studler?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Hosfeld?
Yes.
Mr. Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Yes.
Yes, motion passes unanimous. We now have agenda item number 9, the first reading of proposed ordinance 2016-19 with Council Committee of the Whole / Legislative Finance and Administration Committee Amendment Number 1. Final action by council will take place during the second reading on August 22nd, 2016. The ordinance is available at the entrance of council chambers, on the city's website at www.cityofdover.com under the Government tab, or by contacting the city clerk's office at 736-7008, or via email at the following address, cityclerk@dover.de.us. Mrs. Townsend, would you please brief us on this item?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an ordinance that will consolidate the Property Maintenance Code Board of Appeals and the Construction Code Appeals Committee. Both of those boards are set up under Chapter 22 of Dover Code, which is the building code section. And the Property Maintenance Code Board of Appeals is made up of the city manager, a representative of the real estate interest, and a representative of just a general citizenry. The Construction Code Appeals Committee is made up of 2 council members and the city manager. So this is a consolidation of these 2 boards based on the amendment that was approved at the committee level. It would include 3 members of council, 1 member of real estate interest, and 1 representative of the citizens that would generally represent homeowners. That is the ordinance that is before you. This is something that I think, 1, would improve the efficiency and clarity of the code, but it also will help us in issues of getting a quorum for the appeals committees.
Thank you, Mrs. Townsend. Are there any questions for staff? If there are no further questions, I'll now defer to the city clerk for the introduction of the ordinance. I'm sorry.
No, I don't have any questions. Let's have a motion.
I will defer to the city clerk for the introduction of the ordinance in accordance with section 1-9 of the Dover Code. Madam Clerk.
Proposed ordinance number 2016-19 with Council Committee of the Whole Legislative Finance and Administration. Number 1, amending Chapter 22 Buildings and Building Regulations, Chapter 46 Fire Prevention and Protection, and Chapter 50 Floods. Consolidation of Construction Code Appeals Committee and Property Maintenance Code Board of Appeals. This constitutes the first reading. The final reading is scheduled to take place on August 22nd, 2016.
There is no action for council to take at this time. Agenda item number 10, city manager's announcements. Mr. Koenig.
Thank you. I sent out an email earlier today that we've been notified that there's a problem with sanitary sewer manhole on the southbound lanes of DuPont Highway US 13, immediately south of Division Street. I've not been out to look at the problem, but it is my understanding that we have a problem with some of the brick collar disintegrating under traffic load. So there's going to be a contractor doing work. I hope they start as early as tonight, but it will be an inconvenience, hopefully a short one. In addition to that, staff has been progressing through a number of issues related to projects. There's a lot of construction going on around the city. So be conscious of the construction equipment, both at the city level and the contractor levels, because there's significant construction activity throughout the city. Thank you.
Thank you. A question for Mr. Koenig?
Well, I just want a friendly reminder that Solid Rock Baptist Church in the 4th District has contacted Councilman Anderson and myself in regards to the extreme flooding in that area when they have excessive rain. And I just wanted the city manager to just to continue to be mindful of that. Thank you.
Agenda item number 11, council member announcements. Councilman Sutherland.
Mount Zion AME Church, located at 101 North Queen Street, is having their back-to-school community fair, and they have reached out to all city council members, including the mayor, in regards to being a celebrity cook or barbecue cook. So please contact the city clerk's office to let them know whether or not you will be participating. Councilman Neal and also Councilman Cole has expressed that they will be participating. They have prepared some cooking bibs and things with their district for those who will be participating. And for those who will be participating, they will have opportunity to have Roy Sutler's ribs. So hopefully be looking forward to that to be an incentive.
I'm going. I would drive.
Other announcements from members of council. Councilman Hutchison.
Yes, next month is a very special month. I think that on the day of August the 10th, our council president will be celebrating a birthday. So I'd just like to say happy birthday.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other important announcements such as voting? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Harris, second by Councilman Hotspeld. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.